Have you met? Have you met? It's not E-V-I-L, evil.
Yes.
It's E-V-E-L. I suppose he pronounces it Evel, does he not?
I think he says evil.
Oh.
We'll find out when he comes out.
You get a motion picture part and you start correcting people.
He'll find out. The man will be out here any moment.
Well, I'm going to check with him when he comes out, anyway.
Let him cycle out and we'll ask him.
That's right. He's probably the only man in history who's become very wealthy by trying to kill himself. It's true. He is somewhat of a legend. He does incredible stunts with motorcycles, and he has broken, I guess, more bones than anybody in history. And yet he keeps at this. And he's planning to jump over 50 cars this Sunday at the Los Angeles Coliseum, and it's called an Evel Knieval Spectacular. So let us meet the gentleman. Here is Evel Knieval.
Very good. Johnny, I'm holding the famed walking stick. This is the hollow famed walking stick.
What do you mean, the hollow
Don't you know about this?
Isn't that for getting around? I thought maybe because you busted a...
Well, it's for getting around, but I didn't want to come on the show and be second class, and since I heard that Ed was such a lush, I thought I'd bring him a little drink, and I have in here a little for you.
Oh, how fortuitous.
A couple of canes of that, I'll go over 50 cars. Huh? Give me another
You
cane.
may keep that with my coffee.
Thank you. I shall find a place for that later.
Let me ask you, did you hear me? You spell your name E-V-E-L.
Yes, I did that because really I didn't want it to be the necessary evil, and
Right.
my real name is Robert Craig Knievel, and I was nicknamed Evil because I was such a good little boy, and I changed the I to an E.
Very good.
That's the way it's stated.
You don't, now that obviously is liquor in there, but obviously you cannot drink too much of that before you attempt to do some of the things you do.
No, I don't drink very much. However, I believe that a little alcohol in the bloodstream, for one, is much better than none at all. I think, I remember reading when I was a young man, about our first heavyweight boxing champion, John L. Sullivan. He always used to drink a lot of beer, and I love beer, and I do drink a good stiff shot of the strongest 101 proof booze that I can find before I jump. Just one shot.
That just kind of thins out the blood.
Well, it enough will sharpen you to a point, but too much is not good for you. And
Right.
One reason that I have maybe survived and maybe got up and walked again when doctors said I never would, or lived when they said I would die, is because I have never indulged, and of course never will, in narcotics. I think that God made me to be a certain way, and that's the best way I can be, and I will never, ever indulge in narcotics. And I think that any kid in this country that thinks that he can get along better by putting narcotics into him, which would be like A.J. Foyt or Parnelli Jones putting nitro in an Indianapolis car, would find that he would run good for 1 or 2 laps and then explode, and that's what will happen to you. So no narcotics for me, a little beer, a little alcohol, and I get along fine.
I'm glad you said that. I'll drink to that. Now, Evel, you've been asked some of these questions, I know, but we've never met before. Why do you do these insane things? To you, maybe they're not insane. To the average person, they're crazy. Why do you do this? People say, you've heard this before, you've got a death wish, that the flirtation with death and so forth.
Well, first of all, about the death wish, I do have a death wish. I hope to live to be 110 and die. I don't care whether it's on a golf course or in bed. One or the other makes no difference. As far as why I do what I do, there are 3 mysteries to life. That's where we came from, why we do what we do, and where we're going to go. Johnny Carson doesn't know the answer to any of those 3 things, and neither does Evel Knievel.
True.
So it's a question that can't be answered.
Yeah, but I know sitting here, you see, that I'm not gonna die. Yeah, I've died here many times, but I mean... Yes, but you see, what you taking a motorcycle and jumping 50 cars is hardly the same as a fella going down to Tom McCann and fitting some shoes. See, that's true.
Let me look at it from my point of view. First of all, when I get on the Harley Davidson that I ride, I have a helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
I have fresh air on my face, which keeps me more mentally alert than maybe a guy in a car. I have both hands and both feet on the controls at all times. there's nobody coming in the opposite direction that I'm going. And I fall in that age category where my reactions are quicker than some of the 70 and 80-year-old people that drive an automobile. And I would say, when you really look at statistics and all the jumps that I've made and the times that I have fallen off, that your chances of getting killed in an automobile by taking a trip to the shoe store are maybe just as great as my chances of being killed jumping the motorcycle over the 50 automobiles if you should get hit by someone. And life is a chance itself. I figure that God put me here to be the best, to live the best, and to do the best that I could. Where there is little risk, there is no reward, and I like to live like a king. I never had much of an education, so I take the risk for the reward, and I'm happy for it.
Well, that's a good attitude. But we're going to show them some film. Now, this is an attempt, and I say attempt because, as you well remember, it was not successful. Some of you may have seen this film before. This was a jump that you made at Caesar's Palace. When was this, a couple of years ago?
It was several years ago. I tried to jump over the Caesar's
fountains?
Palace Hotel, the fountains in front of Caesar's Palace, yes.
What happened? You will see the film in a moment, but...
Well, when I took off, the motorcycle landed short and went head-on against the landing ramp and ripped the handlebars out of my hands, and I went over the top of the motorcycle, and I bounced for 60 yards into the Dunes parking lot. And
they charge you $2.50 an hour there.
Well, I'll tell you, the Caesar's Palace people treated me great, but the Dunes didn't even pay me for making an appearance.
Didn't even... You were right there in their lot. We're going to show you this film. It's in slow motion. It runs about a half a minute. You'll have to watch the monitors in the studio. And here's the gentleman who just said it's probably safer than driving to the shoe store. Watch the film.
That's if you don't fall off.
Yes, there you go.
This film was shot for me, Johnny, by John Derrick and Linda.
Now, you were
Evans.
short.
This is the going over the handlebars and landing on my back on the pavement. Now, the motorcycle hit me 2 or 3 times as I was rolling along the pavement. I'm caught right in between the front wheel and the back wheel there. Then it hit the wall.
God.
Went up over the top of the wall, and it caught on fire.
You must have been going, what, 80, 90 miles an hour at that time?
Yes, it was. It ripped the leathers away from me, and it's an accident that I'll never forget. It's something that nearly killed me, I tell you.
That is incredible. What? Do you remember anything about it?
Yes, the helmet I wear is a full coverage helmet. It covers me down here. It's a special built helmet for me by the Harley-Davidson people, and it is the only thing actually that I can credit saving my life. And I think that anyone that rides a motorcycle without any kind of a helmet, I don't care what kind it is, they should wear a helmet. And I remember looking out that opening in that helmet, and I thought, God Almighty, will I ever stop bouncing? Because I was just rolling along, and when I finally hit the wall, I was not unconscious. I rolled over, and I couldn't move my legs, and I knew that my pelvis was broken, and I took my helmet off. And the last thing I remember when I got in an ambulance, there were 2 little colored boys that were in the crowd, and they had a huge crowd. The strip was closed for a couple hours when that jump was made. And these 2 little colored boys came up as I was being put in the ambulance with my wife, who was going with me to the hospital, and they crossed their fingers and put their hands over their hearts when I was being hauled away, and that's the last thing that I remember from 2 little black boys.
Isn't that nice?
Before I went to the hospital.
And you broke your pelvis in this jump.
And my hips.
And your hips.
That's how I began to carry the cane, yes.
And you're going to do this again?
Well, I've done it several times. That's not the only time I missed that jump. I've missed a jump like that 14 or 15 times, and been hospitalized several times because of it.
But doesn't that... Well, we'll talk about it when we come back. You're an incredible man. Backing out of the garage, to me, is a big, traumatic experience. I drove on the lawn sprinkler once, and I haven't driven since. Here's a mouthwash. It's not a mouthwash. It's not... No, this is not... It's to wash mice. It's not a mouthwash. It's effective against bad breath, but it do taste good. You just joined us. We're talking with a fascinating man, Evel Knieval, who is... was that the worst accident you ever had, that one at Caesar's?
Caesar's Palace, I think it was, yes.
Yeah. What's going to happen this Sunday at the Coliseum?
Well, hopefully, I'll jump over 50 cars. I've always wanted to try and jump 50. And
Me too. That's been one of my fondest dreams.
The football field isn't quite big enough to get a run and then jump the 50 automobiles, so I'm going to pile a few of them on top of of some of the others, and I'm coming down a ski jump ramp in the Coliseum that's nearly 200 feet high, and I'm going to come down it and underneath the goal post and then across the field and off of my takeoff ramp and over the 50 cars, and then I'll open a parachute on the motorcycle and land and go out the turnstile exit of the Coliseum.
You got it down pretty well there. And right into the men's room for me. Take a left and head for the men's room.
On that same day, my partner in this Evel Knievel Spectacular is J.C. Agajanian, and he's the promoter of it, and we had an idea together some time ago that we'd like to stage an automobile show that could never be topped by anyone, and we are going to destroy and wreck a brand new model Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, a new Cadillac Eldorado, a new Lincoln Mark IV.
It's a demolition derby.
Another new Eldorado. It's a demolition derby with all brand new model cars. The prize money's over $25,000, and we have the greatest drivers in the world participating. Parnelli Jones, Al Unser, Joe Leonard, Roger Ward, all of the top Indianapolis
With
drivers.
all of those class cars?
Yes. The winner will receive over $7,000 first place prize money.
Well, the car's worth more than that, isn't it?
Well, they won't be.
No, that's for sure. We have a small piece of film. When we take a break, we'll come back. You practiced, or did you not practice this?
Well, I
this
tried
ramp?
to practice, but I haven't got the motorcycle to the top of the ramp yet. The Coliseum, the ramp I'm going to use is nearly 200 feet high, and when it's wet, the motorcycle just will not go up it, and I flipped off of it and went into the grandstands. And I haven't been up the ramp yet, but I'm planning on getting up there because I got to get up there to come down.
That's right. Well, we'll have that little piece of film for you when we come back. Then we'll show you this the motorcycle and another piece of equipment. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I know I'm running the risk of getting behind in the show tonight, and I don't want to do that, but I find this so fascinating that I'm going to take a few more minutes to talk about this. You have a wife, right?
That's right. Three children.
And 3 children. Does your wife ever say, Evel, don't do that no more?
She has learned to live and to cope with the performances, as have my children. In fact, they're down here from Montana to see this jump. And I think the one big one they're all worried about is the canyon jump. However...
You at one time wanted to jump Grand Canyon,
That's
didn't
right.
you?
And the government brought an injunction against me and stopped me, so I bought a canyon in Idaho called the Snake River Canyon, and we're going to see the machine that I'll jump that canyon on. One thing I'd like to say while I'm on the show, if I have a chance to, there are a lot of people that can say, when I jump the canyon, if I splat against the other side, that I was crazy. I will say, if I land on the other side, I'll drop to both knees and grab a handful of Idaho dirt and thank God Almighty I'm still alive. Remember one thing, you can say a lot of things about a man. You can say he was good looking or ugly, or his wife was, or he was rich or broke, or drove a big car or a little car. But you can say nothing better about a man than his word is his bond, or that his word is as good as gold. So my wife and my children have prepared themselves for one thing. I'm going to jump the canyon because I said I would try it. And if I die, then I know that my children, my family, my wife will miss me. But they will be proud of me because I've kept my word. And that's something that you can say about very few men in this country or on the face of this earth today. But you're going to be able to say it about me.
How wide is that canyon?
It's 3/4 of a mile across, and in some spots it's 1,000 feet deep, some spots it's 2,000 feet deep. It's located right at Twin Falls, Idaho, and I'm going to jump about a mile over the canyon, right over Shoshone Falls, which is higher than Niagara Falls and the most beautiful spot in the country out there that you've ever seen.
You'll see the machine. We're going to show you in a moment.
Right.
Let us show now this little film clip of your practice run of trying to get up to the top of the ramp.
This is the ramp in the
Watch the
Coliseum
monitors here.
that I'm going to climb on Sunday when I jump the 50 cars. This first portion here is the truck and trailer. There you can see
There's
the
your
ramp
ramp.
going 200 feet up into the top of the Coliseum, and here
Now
here is where I've been doing the practicing to get ready, and here's my man Lee Ratliff, he and Mike Draper, and there's J.C. Agajanian wiping off. Aggie, I had a terrible time with him that day. It was raining, and he didn't want me to go, and I got on the helmet, and I said, don't worry, I can make it up, and I started to climb up it very slowly, and when I got to the top, it spun over backwards and went down about 10 rows of seats, and I went down about 5 rows of seats, and I couldn't hang on to it.
Back
So
to the
you
old
see,
drawing
too.
board. There's
As Aggie gets worried. He doesn't
Yes,
like...
I'm glad we didn't have a soundtrack on that for AK. And you didn't hurt yourself, though, and you...
Well, I broke a finger, but it's a minor break for me on something.
You broke a
like that.
finger?
Yeah, this finger right here is busted, you can see.
Well, yes, it is a little strange looking. Yeah. This is nothing. A man sitting here with a finger that looks like a corkscrew. And You're incredible. All right. I don't imagine you have any insurance, do you?
No, that's why I've invested in fur coats and diamonds, you might say, because I don't have insurance. But I have put away for my children, for my wife. One thing that I really like to get into it with is a guy who says, why don't you save and put away things? I had a banker one time. He said, why don't you save your money, store your Maserati in a garage, buy your wife and children a new home, take care of yourself. If I get killed in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum on Sunday, the first thing he'd try and do, he'd want to drive my Maserati, he'd want to move in with my wife, he'd kick my kids in the fanny, he'd run my little dog over the hill, he'd live in my house. I'm risking my life for it. I'm going to spend every damn dime of it, and I hope I can pull it off.
Okay, let's go and see something. Now, is this, can you pick us up over here? Is this the unit you're going to try to...
This is the machine that I will attempt to jump the Snake River Canyon with. I have two of these. This will run 350 miles an hour.
Why do you have two? If you don't make it, you're not going to need the other.
Well, you don't go to Indianapolis with one race car, and I'm not going to go to the canyon with one machine. This machine is powered by steam. Steam is the most reliable source of power we have in the world. Our first trains ran on steam, and I use tum water in this, which comes from an artesian well up near Olympia, Washington. It's the cleanest, coldest, purest water on the face of the earth.
This is full of beer.
No, tum water.
That's crazy.
It's a beautiful machine, and this is what it looks like actually without the streamliner shell on it. That's what the steam jet looks like inside.
In other words, it's like a ramjet engine.
And it'll go from 0 to 350 miles an hour from a dead stop in 8 seconds flat, up and across the canyon. And I'll use a parachute to get off with.
Well, I find you a fascinating man, and I wish you great luck with it.
Thank you, John.
Pleasure to know you.
Thank you for
Good
having me
luck.
on the show.
I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Evel, thank you. You can't say that's not a fascinating man.
Yeah.